What's up, guys? It's Naveed here, and I'm here with
Spencer.
that was a little bit off. It wasn't like last week. Last week we had a smooth transition. But yeah, we're here to do our ninth episode. Is it the ninth episode?
I think it's our ninth episode. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's our ninth. Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
Episode 9 of the Real Buttons podcast. One thing I want to get out of the way first is if you listen to us on YouTube, so if you just listen to this podcast on my page, you might not know, we actually do this podcast live on YouTube.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and today we're actually going to, and from here on out, we're going to be keeping track of the comments. So if you guys have any questions throughout the podcast, that'd be a good time to ask us, and we might answer them on our podcast. So that'd be something pretty cool that you guys could do to be a little bit more interactive with the podcast. But yeah, I mean, you can ask questions anytime, whenever you want. But anyway, that's it for that. What's been going on with you, Spencer?
Oh, wait 1 second. I'm posting this shit on the Twitter. Anyways, let's see here. Okay. So, I've been playing a crap ton of games because I'm on my break. This is I think this is the first time in 8 or 9 months I've had a Steam rating of 10, which is for those of you who don't know, Steam rating is how much you've been playing, and then they give you a rating based on how many hours you've spent. And I think anything above 30 hours every single 2 weeks is a rating of 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So
basically, the higher your rating, the less of a life you have at that point in time.
Right. So I've finished a couple of games, though. I finished Darksiders since the last cast and Renegade Ops, as well as the Cold Strike campaign, which was the DLC for Renegade Ops that they gave PC users. PC users got it for free if they bought the game early enough, because there were some porting issues supposedly on ATI graphics cards or something. And so Sega gave us the update just as compensation for that. So Darksiders, I wrote a little micro review of this on the blog, which isn't really worth reading if you even listen to this cast. But anyways, basically my verdict, I'm kind of feeling a B- range, because even though the art direction is really great, the game just kind of drags in too often. I would say by the end of the game, though, the ending of the last 3 hours of the game are pretty action-packed, and it feels really well paced. But yeah, there was a lot of room for improvement, and I'm looking forward to Darksiders 2 to see where they took it, and maybe fixed any of the issues, because all the issues are really minor. They just all add up to be a bigger problem. I know that you started playing Darksiders finally, didn't you?
I just played about the first beginning part. It was maybe about an hour in, or maybe 45 minutes. That part is pretty ugly, and
yeah, it is. That's the beginning of that game is so terrible. The intro isn't that bad when you're in the city, but when you're in once you come back, I don't want to spoil anything, but once you come back after the intro, it's really bad for the first 2 or 3 hours of the game.
Great, I'd love to hear that.
And no, but that was I just wanted to say this for anybody who's beat the game, and then anybody who hasn't, doesn't really matter, because I don't think it'll spoil anything. But Stronger. Anyways, no. So yeah, that was it. But B-. I think it's worth
This just
playing.
in. First comments from YouTube. Chatastic says, "Who the fuck listens to you on YouTube?" He's right. Who does?
He listed freaking 4 comments in the past minute.
I know. Yeah. Why do you suck?
10 out of 10 would stream again. He didn't play shit.
Okay.
Anyways,
that's it. Live comments have been
already
read.
Yeah, 4 comments already.
So our see we're getting them out there, man. Our promise is an actual promise. We will get these live comments out there.
And then for Renegade Ops, Renegade Ops is freaking awesome. So this is this little dual stick shooter by Avalanche and Sega. Avalanche being the developer behind the Just Cause games. But yeah, it's it's really freaking good. Like the Cold Strike campaign DLC is actually worth it. I got it for free, but I would say it's worth it if you get it on a sale. And this game's actually going to be on sale for like $375 this Amazon Labor Day sale on some day. It's going to be like $374, $375. I told Naveed to pick it up. He's probably not going to.
Yeah.
But it's really freaking fun. It's like I was smiling through most of Renegade Ops because it's just like a super like it's like a retro game but with a really modern take on it, and it just plays super well. And plus, it has Gordon Freeman as a guest character, and yeah, it like just freaking get it. Like I got to give Renegade Ops like an A- or a B+ range. I mean, it was
Cool.
really freaking good. And then I've just been playing Bastion, which I think sucks. Naveed's listening to this. Excuse me, not Naveed. Philip is listening to this live right now, and he's probably disagreeing with that. He's probably going to message me here in a second. Of course, he's playing TF2.
I
so
didn't
he's
even know
probably
you.
not going-
I didn't know you thought it sucked.
I didn't think. Okay, that's extreme. I'm just trying to incite a reaction from Philip, who's chatting with me on Steam at some point. But, anyways,
Who says? Oh my God! Another comment.
what? We got to
Philip
know. Lies and
Yeah.
he says lies and slander. Yeah.
So
But,
there you go, another opinion from someone who's not Spencer, because Spencer's
Bastion.
opinion is wrong.
No, I don't think it sucks, but it's like the only thing that I think Bastion does super well is it has a good soundtrack and the background art is really good, but like the character if you really look closely at him, he looks kind of out of place because like he just looks like kind of like there's like a gloss over him, and then the gameplay
Because
is too
of
repetitive.
polygonal characters.
Yeah, he's like a three-dimensional character that's designed to look 2D, but it's like it just doesn't really work. And then the gameplay just gets kind of repetitive and drags on for a little bit. But
Yeah, it's
Phil was a big fan of the game, so he's coming to the defense. But yeah,
I think the gameplay's good. Obviously, I've played like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't know. I haven't looked at my Steam log.
I played
but
like 10 because I'm not a pussy. But yeah.
yeah, well, maybe that's indicative of how I felt about the game. I didn't feel like playing a lot more, but I guess I do that for every game. So.
And then in terms of after I uninstalled Bastion and I only made it like 75% of the way through, and then I was like, screw this, I'm done because it just got too repetitive for me.
Mhm.
Also, I hate how when you pick up weapons, it automatically switches to that. I freaking hate that. Like, give me an option. That's so annoying. I'm very attached to the bow and arrow. I don't want to switch to something else. But anyways, so then I uninstalled and I switched to Aquaria, which is sort of like an Echo the Dolphin like indie game. Derek Yu, I believe, designed that one. And it's been pretty good. It controls a little bit funky, and yeah, I don't know. Like the graphics look kind of cheap sometimes, but like the Nyjah, the main character, she's her death screen is like the most it's very odd death screen, and anybody who knows what I mean, like anybody who's played it knows what I mean. And then I played Psychonauts. Okay, so Psychonauts pissed me off. I've lost my saves in Psychonauts like 3 times now, and the first 2 times
What does
I
that
didn't
due to?
Huh?
Like, do you know what that's due to? It's just
the game the first time was like it just lost the saves. The second time it corrupted the saves, and then this third time it corrupted the saves again, but I managed to fix it and recover the saves. But if it does it again, I'm done with the game. I'm not going to play it. Because I've put in like 6 hours into Psychonauts, which is like halfway through the game if I had been playing it that entire time, but I've had to start over 3 times. So, it's just not really. I'm not going to bother with it anymore. If it happens one more time, I'm just done with the game because it's like I 3 times. I've never done that. I've never had this experience where a game just kept like screwing up my saves. I've never even had it happen once where a game like corrupted my save file. And I've been gaming since I was 4 years old, so I've been gaming for
PC gaming, man.
for 17 years. I've been so it's like it's like I've been gaming a long ass time and I've never had this happen. So I don't know. It's still a good game. It's funny. It's fun to play. And the art direction's cool, and the music's cool, and I really like the world. But like, it's just I can't keep on repeating the first 2 hours of the game over and over and over and over again. So, I've gotten really good at speedrunning the first 2 hours of the game. And then I've been playing I've been playing a ton of Genesis games, but the ones I'm going to mention are Rescue, which was a prototype that was never released by Tempest and Psygnosis. And then that's like, it's pretty cool. It's got like these bonus levels that are basically Star Fox like, where you're in a spaceship and you go through hoops and fire a weapon. But the thing that's different from Star Fox is that it's running it on native Genesis hardware. There's no special chip in it in the cartridge to help process it. It's not running as high of a frame rate, but I mean, it's doing it on Genesis hardware, plain old Genesis hardware, so it's pretty freaking impressive. And then Monster World 4, which is freaking excellent. There's a fan translation patch on PC, and there has been for quite a while, so I'm just playing using that.
And the games did get officially released with the translated versions.
Yeah. It got released on Xbox Live Arcade and I think PSN. Was it just
And
Xbox
WiiWare.
Live Arcade? Really?
It was on Virtual Console.
Wow.
And I'm not positive about PSN. It probably did. Yeah, I think it did get released on PSN.
Well, I know that it got.
Well.
I thought Monster World 4 didn't get released on Virtual Console in the U.S., only in Japan. That's what I thought.
No, that was actually. I think that might have been the first home console it came out for. Maybe I'm wrong there, but that was what I thought.
I think it's only Xbox Live Arcade. I'm almost certain of that.
I'm positive it came to Virtual Console. Like, I'm 100% sure.
What American Virtual Console? I'm almost sure that it almost. I don't buy this.
Nope, it did. I'm positive.
There is an ensuing argument that's about that. I don't know. Anyways, go ahead and start telling your stories.
My stories?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, May 10th, 2012 was released on International Virtual Console.
May 10th, bitch.
And it was the first version. I knew it. XBLA PSN versions were later. A week or two.
13 days later. Now tell your damn stories.
I feel pretty good about myself. I didn't really play much this week. Been busy with school stuff and just
Naveed's this just in. Naveed's a pussy from Chastic.
Good comment. I enjoy it.
Those facts coming down 10 seconds ago. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
But we got another one. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to. Breaking Bad, the mid-season finale was just a few days ago. I just want to say, Breaking Bad is the best show on television. Like, for me, it's just an incredible show. The last episode of this season just sets it up so well for next season, for everything to just go bad. Everything is going to be. I don't even know if this is a spoiler. Just saying, like, everything's going to go bad from here on out.
Don't say it. Shut your mouth.
But Breaking Bad is so good. It's such a good. You really need to watch it. I don't care what you say. It's too violent. Who says that?
I don't say it's too violent. It just freaks me out.
How does it freak you, dude?
We got another comment from Kirby Twins. Sleeping Dogs.
Ooh, Sleeping Dog. That's a good game. Really, really pretty good game. But anyway, you know what? Sleeping Dogs. I watched a little bit more. I watched my friend play a little bit more about that. More of that. I got a little bit better impression. He said actually that the game is pretty good. He says the story kind of is okay. It's not amazing.
I heard it's a Shenmue ripoff.
You saw that video. That was a good video, by the way. That Shenmue video.
I didn't even watch the entire thing. I was just being a douchebag. But
you were probably like crying after halfway through, like, why isn't Shenmue 3 out?
It looks, dude, Shenmue 3 will look better than that. Because it's all too big and everything in that game.
Yeah, the combat in Sleeping Dogs is really good. Anyway, that's it. Breaking Bad is amazing, and Sleeping Dogs, and then now I have the best stuff coming up right here. So yesterday, I started playing DayZ for the first time in like 3 weeks, and some incredible shit happened. It was amazing. Okay, now I got like a transcript here of everything that happened, thanks to my friend. Okay. First amazing story. I got three of them. Three stories for you guys. First one. So basically, I'm playing with my two friends, my two roommates that I'm living with right now. So they go to a city called Cherno, which is one of the biggest cities in the map for DayZ, and basically they don't really have anything, any items or loot or anything, and they're trying to find some stuff. And as they're doing that, they can hear a sniper shooting at them. So one of my roommates, he goes and grabs a gun, the Makarov, and my friend, he like runs away, and then my other friend grabs a Makarov, and he's like, I'm going to kill this sniper. I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. And he goes to the place where we believe the sniper was. We weren't positive, but he goes to that place. He climbs up. There's nobody there. So then I join up with them. I meet him on the top of this little tower where we thought the sniper was. And from the top of this tower, we see two other strangers running from the bottom of the tower into these nearby apartments that we could see. So one of my friends sees a body outside the building. So he goes down and he's going to try to loot this body because it could have... Usually bodies in DayZ have really cool stuff, like... I mean, unless obviously they just start off, but usually they have some good stuff like food, drinks, weapons. So he's going to go down there and check the body while me and my other friends stay up and keep a lookout because we did see those two other guys. And the friend that didn't go check the body, he goes down and actually finds the two strangers, and he's talking to them. He's saying like, "What's up? Did you guys kill the sniper that was on the roof?" And he goes in, and they see him, and they shoot him. They just kill one of my friends. So he's dead. He's just dead. Like he's going inside saying, I'm a friendly. Did you guys shoot the sniper up there?" Boom. They shoot the guy. So
well,
now,
of course, dude, you don't try to talk to people in DayZ. Even I know that.
No, but sometimes there's nice people. A guy gave me night vision goggles one time.
Yeah, one time.
No, well, you'll see in the next story what talking does. But anyway, so yeah, he dies. So me and my friend, who's not dead now, basically we're like, you know what? We're gonna fucking kill these guys. We're gonna kill these two bastards that just killed our friend. Those strangers are also better armed. They have like shotguns, and one of them has a crossbow, even though a crossbow is not that great in the game, but it's basically a one-shot kill if he gets you with the crossbow. So I meet up with my friend, and basically we meet up inside one of the apartments. The other two strangers ran away to a building across the street, and there's a standoff. Literally like a 30-minute standoff. While we can see the guys through the window of the other building, and we're shooting at him. And it's just freaking so tense. It's crazy. The other guys finally decide to run inside the building we're in. And I find a shotgun on the top floor. So while guys are running in, my friend is trying to shoot at the guys. And the controls in DayZ are really like... They're not terrible, but they're really awkward.
Arma 2, aren't they Arma 2 controls, like the same thing?
Arma 2 controls. Yeah,
Arma
exactly
2's Arma 2's pretty bad. The controls are pretty bad.
So they're fine once you get used to them, but there's still some stuff that could go wrong. So I'm doing this. I'm using the scroll wheel, and when you use the scroll wheel, there will be different options popping up, like pick up an item or climb the ladder or something. So I'm trying to like pick something up, and I mistakenly hit climb ladder, and I'm like, I'm so afraid to like go down because these guys are rushing in. So I just climb on top of the ladder, which turned out to be like the best move I could possibly make. So these two guys get in there. My friend tricks one of them because he went behind them and shot one of them. So he got one of them down, and then the other dude who's not dead killed my friend. So basically it's just me and him left. I'm looking at him through the top. There's like a hole in the roof, and I see him come by me. I fire my shotgun, freaking headshot. he's dead, and we won. We won. Like it was literally like an hour-long standoff, like just watching, waiting for them, and yeah, I thought that was incredible. The guys' names were T.S. Eliot and Walt Whitman, funnily enough. So, T.S. Eliot or Walt Whitman, if you're listening to this, which you're not because you don't know about this, but if you are, I just want you to know that we killed you, and it was fun.
Moral of the story, Naveed's an anti-intellectual.
What? What?
It's a joke because you killed two famous authors.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's funny. That's okay. All right, that's the first story. That was pretty good. That was pretty amazing. It was one of the best experiences I've had in DayZ. Second story. My friend that died first when he went in to talk to the guys, he was butthurt over missing this hour-long fight. So he spawns in another place called Electro, which is like the other really big city near where people spawn. So people go there and get all the stuff. So he's walking around, and there's a church in these big cities, and these churches usually have a lot of stuff, and they're usually safe places to go. He opens the doors. There are 3 fully armed people inside the church talking to each other. So he freaks out, and he opens his mic because you have to press caps lock to actually like talk to anybody. He opens his mic and he starts to preach, like at the church. He starts to preach and say stuff like, "Oh, praise the Lord," or something like that, stuff like that. And he walks to the altar, and he's just preaching. These guys are just laughing, and then like my friend literally walks out of the church unharmed. He just walks past these fully armed dudes after preaching, unarmed, and he gets out. So I thought that's pretty funny that he just started doing that. And then, apparently preaching like a crazy man gets you into cool situations and out of bad situations. Because my third story is this is like the same exact game. He's like just a couple minutes later, he sees 2 helicopters flying over. And if you know about DayZ, helicopters are really rare to find. So he direct chats and starts praising the good news of the Bible and talking about, being. He's an atheist, by the way, so that's even more funny. So he's starting to like say, "Get to the promised land" or something. The helicopters fly away, but they turn back. And then both of them hover, and one of them lands and picks up my friend. So he's in the gunner spot, trying to rid the world of the demons of the land. And he just keeps preaching. They fly to the same place, Electro, and my friend asks to be taken to the promised land. The pilot starts talking, and he starts hovering, and he's telling my friend to look out for the other helicopter, just look what it's gonna do. So the other helicopter, you can see just getting closer and closer. It just flies head on into the other helicopter, and they just there's fire all over the city, and it was amazing. They went to the promised land. That's the moral of that story. But yeah, those are my fun DayZ stories. It was a lot better actually being there, but
of course it is. It always is.
Yes.
With those types of things.
Yes. But yeah, that's it for me. That was amazing.
All right. Rumor section?
Yeah, okay. So the rumor section, we'll start off with Valve is hiring industrial workers or industrial designers for something. We don't know what
we really don't know what, but they basically said they're upset about lack of innovation or whatever.
Yeah, and but I mean, it's probably going to be for another piece of news. Oh wait, no, this is the news. Okay, people are basically speculating Valve is going to make hardware now.
Yeah, people have
Like,
been speculating that for a long time that they're going to
yeah,
make
there was a
something.
rumor. There was a rumor a while ago about Valve getting into the hardware space, and now people are thinking it's basically confirmed now. But it's not confirmed that they're going into the console market, but or the hardware market. But that's what it seems like with this. Anyway, that's it for that.
Yeah, I don't think that I still don't think they're going to do anything really, but
The thing that makes me sort of believe that they might is, they're not a big fan of. I mean, Gabe Newell's made it known that he's not a big fan of Windows 8.
yeah, but that's
So I
still
don't know if they're
software.
gonna.
That's software, so
I know that's software, but still, like, it's majority of people use PCs. They use Windows.
I could
They
see what
could
I could see is I could see like
they could make their own
um,
box built around Steam.
I could see like a sort of if they do anything, I think it's going to be like a gaming keyboard or a gaming mouse or a controller or something like that. I don't think they're going to do anything major.
maybe.
I don't think that
Um,
I don't think Valve wants to rock the boat
see,
a ton.
they were talking about they were saying how like keyboards haven't evolved over the years, or like gaming controls or like mice stuff. So I don't know if they just make another keyboard. They'd probably try to do something different, maybe with a keyboard or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that. But anyway, another rumor is coming in about the Wii U release date, which it's kind of maybe it's kind of dumb talking about release dates so soon to the announcements that Nintendo's going to make on September 13th. But PDP seemed to have leaked the supposed Wii U release date, which was they said their accessories will be released alongside the Wii U on November 18th. So they obviously came out formally. They just they came out and just denied that is the launch date. They're like, yeah, we made a mistake. That's not indicative of what Nintendo says. And November 18th is the date I thought it would be, because it's really close to when the Wii launched, which was November 19th on a Sunday. But then there's another leak that it was from an Amazon distributor that said the Wii U was coming out on November 11th with 3 different SKUs, one $250 one $300 one, and one $350 one. Which those three SKUs,
I doubt 3.
That's same here. Like, I don't see it happening. I mean, it's possible, but that's like you said before when we were talking about it before. That's not what Nintendo does. Nintendo doesn't do that. I could see 2.
Yeah, I mean, but
Possibly.
even then, I mean, how many? When was the last time Nintendo did 2 for like that? Like it was like the NES.
But they might have to do it this time because they might have to have a version that comes with a Wiimote and one that only comes with the tablet controller, because the Wii U is still going to be using Wiimotes for
Dude,
a
no,
lot of
the tablet
multiplayer
controller is going to
experiences.
come with the 250 one. They don't have a choice. They
Well,
really
no,
don't have a choice on
no,
that.
I'm saying the tablet with a Wiimote and one without the Wiimote. And
Oh,
just the
gotcha. Right.
Yeah, because the Wiimote's going to be used for a lot of multiplayer experiences and stuff like Nintendo Land. I mean, they're pushing for that, obviously, and that's a game that uses the Wiimote extensively to get that whatever they're calling. What's it called? I don't even remember the term anymore. Asymmetric gameplay. That's what it is.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like
Where you're playing
marketing
one person.
strategy.
No, well, they're marketing it that way. You're playing one thing on the controller, one thing on the TV. So, that's it's possible. I could see 2 maybe, but 3, I don't really think so. So that's what leads me to believe that's not very true.
All right. Next piece of news rumor is about Sega, and they've started this Sega Heritage thing whereby they port their classic titles to newer consoles and PC, and then they make them HD and whatnot. The rumor is that Sega's next Heritage title will be the Skies of Arcadia HD release, based on a trademark renewal. That's really all we have on that. It's been rumored for quite a while, and trademark renewals, though, from my From my perspective, trademark renewals most of the time don't indicate anything.
That's true, because I mean, like Nintendo trademarks everything. Like they just recently trademarked Wave Race and what's it called, Eternal Darkness, and that means absolutely nothing. So, you know, it's a possibility because Sega's been doing that stuff, like you said, but I don't know. It's
We'll
not.
see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So in
Now
the
we'll
news,
we'll move on to the news section now. So Square Enix had a thing for Final Fantasy's 25th anniversary, I believe. Was it 25th?
yeah, 25th.
25th anniversary. So, Konami and Konami and Square Enix were doing this for two of their big series. Konami with Metal Gear Solid, but for Square Enix, they announced Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, which you could basically call Final Fantasy 13 3, the freaking third version of Final Fantasy 13. I really don't care about this
Neither do I.
at all. I haven't really cared about the Final Fantasy series for a while. I loved the old ones. I thought, up until a certain point, I cared, but now I'm like,
I would say I cared about Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 12 was pretty cool, and it kind of changed up the formula a little bit. But
I remember that being like exciting, like an exciting time for Final Fantasy for 12, and I remember Final Fantasy 13 being obviously a big deal because that was the first one for new consoles, but now it just seems like they're...
I disagree. With Final Fantasy 13, I was not excited at all because it took so long. It was like...
I wasn't. There was hype behind it, obviously, as is behind
it had taken so long to come out. I mean, wasn't it like 2010 or 2011? It was 2010, wasn't it? I mean, the game was like announced in like 2005, and it was announced... I don't remember when it came out, but it took way too long.
I mean, there's already been a 13-2. Like Final Fantasy 13-2, so...
It was released in 2010 in North America. Yep.
Really? Final Fantasy 13?
Yep. And it began development, and it was announced at 2006, and it had been in development since 2004. So the game took 6 years to make.
So Final Fantasy 13-2 came out this year? Or last year?
Came out in this... I think it came out this year.
13-2. I don't know.
Yeah, 13-2 came out in 2012 in North America.
Oh, okay. Wow, it feels like that's been out forever. Huh.
Which it was supposedly a lot better than the first game, so there's that.
I don't know. I didn't actually hear anything about that, so... I mean, I just remember people being really upset with Final Fantasy 13 because of how they said it's so linear for an RPG and, I don't know, combat isn't that great, but yeah. But that's it for Square Enix announcement. And then for Konami and Metal Gear was celebrating its 25th anniversary as well. So they had this conference in Japan. Kojima was there and everyone was there. And I was actually keeping up with the conference live while on the NeoGAF thread when it was happening. And it was an awful, awful conference up until they showed off they first announced the Metal Gear Solid movie, which is being produced by what does Columbia do? They like produce the movie, get it out there?
I think they're a distributor.
Yeah, distributor. So they distribute the movie, Columbia, and it's going to be released. It's like I don't think they'd announce a movie like that without having.
Well, they did it for Uncharted, and then that's still kind of.
Did they really? Like, they formally announced an Uncharted movie?
It had, like, I can't remember who was attached. Wasn't it, like, Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Nathan Drake or something like that? But it was like, yeah, they had formally announced it at a certain point, and it's been, like, stuck in development hell.
Well, anyway, Metal Gear Solid is basically a movie anyway. So, at least now.
I think actually, out of all video game franchises, Metal Gear Solid would probably make the easiest transition to film.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather watch that because I'm not a huge fan of the stealth genre, so I'm not big on the Metal Gear Solid games myself. I really need to try to play them again, but whenever I try to play them, I can't do it. But anyway,
Let me check.
after the
I gotta check the comments real quick. Let's see if anybody made any comments.
okay.
I'm expecting one to call you a wimp since you're afraid of stealth games. Never mind, nobody called you a wimp, so I will call you a wimp.
Yeah. So basically, after the movie announcement, they went over a bunch of crap nobody cares about, and then they talked about Metal Gear Solid merchandise, which was their like last announcement, and then they were like, "Oh wait, there's one more, obviously." And they were supposed to show the Fox Engine stuff during that conference, which people were like, "Where is it? Where is it?" So they decided to show the Fox Engine off with Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, which is their new Metal Gear Solid game using the Fox Engine. And the game was running on PC, but they were saying it's running at current gen hardware as far as like current gen specs. So what I'm speculating is they're not talking about current gen home consoles. They're talking about what's currently available on the PC for the PCs, because what they showed off, the trailer's out now. It looks really good. It's not.
I don't think PS3/360 could do it.
No way. Not like that. It'll be way worse. Not way worse, but it'll be worse. Obviously,
It could be sort of a thing where they it's like it's on Xbox 720 and PS4, but it's also on the previous generation consoles, like downgraded though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I feel like this game is a game that might not even come out till 2014. So by that time it could come out on on current gen consoles and next gen consoles as well. And I could easily see a PC version happening to it because they have it running on PC.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid's never really come to PC before, so that's it for that. That looks really good. I mean,
it does. The trailer looked pretty good. I think Phil's pretty pumped about it. I don't know if he's listening anymore. He just went offline on Steam, so he may have gotten disconnected. I don't know, but anyway, I know that he was pumped when I showed him the trailer.
Yeah, I'll definitely put the trailer up in the background for that game.
It's a great looking trailer.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a well-produced and well done trailer. But yeah, next up, Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct presentation, which they announced a few games. One game is a game called Harmonite, which is being developed by Game Freak, the guys who make the Pokemon games. This is like their first original new IP since like Drill Dozer, I think.
Yeah,
Drill Dozer was probably the last one. And yeah, it's a rhythm game. Hence the title, Harmonite, and I think it looks really good. But Spencer pointed this out first. I actually didn't know about this. It's $20,
which is nuts. Nuts.
Well, that's in Japan. I have a feeling it'll be way cheaper in the U.S. because I don't think it'll sell here. If it's
I don't know, dude. Nintendo's kind of stingy with stuff. They always price their crap high.
I don't think it'll be $20 here, but apparently, according to it came out in Japan today, so people downloading it.
Which, to Naveed's credit, it wasn't in U.S. dollars; it was in yen, and I just know the conversion rate. So
yeah,
so it was
actually
yeah.
But like the game size is actually the same size basically as New Super Mario Bros. 2. Like if you download that off the eShop.
I was actually I was off on my conversion. The yen's it's $23.
Yeah, but the yen is really strong. So
right, yeah, the yen's really strong right now.
So, but yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to the game. Hopefully, it's not $20 here. I really hope it's like.
I could see 20. I honestly think it'll be like $18 or $20.
If it's 15, I might get it. Maybe.
Even I think that would be too much.
If it has enough content, if it's like if there's like 50 to 60 songs, different songs, then I think it's worth it because like something like Theater Rhythm had like 70 songs and I think the gameplay looked pretty cool if you saw it, and it looks like a cool rhythm game. So
for me, it's like when you're coming out with like a small downloadable title like that, if you want $20 or more, it needs to be retail.
I could see that. Like, I don't know. I wish it was retail. Like, I'd want it to be retail, but maybe it's just something that Nintendo doesn't think will do well at retail, which is probably the truth. Like it probably.
I don't think, dude. You kidding me? You're gonna slap the Nintendo logo on it, then you stick a sticker on it that says "Made by the same dudes who made Pokemon." Boom, done.
Or it has Pokemon. Yeah, I guess you could have like Pokemon characters on the cover.
Pokemon guest characters, stuff like that.
There are like
million copies worldwide.
They have stages with Pokemon music and Pokemon characters in the background. So
this is why I need to be the CEO of Sega or Nintendo, because I could do this.
Well, what would you release it at retail?
I would flesh it. I would flesh it out and make it like $35 at launch.
Maybe it is a fully fleshed out game. Like I don't know yet. Like I haven't seen
for 20. I don't buy it.
Maybe it is, but we'll see. Hope that'll most probably come to the U.S. as most of the eShop games have. But then during the Nintendo Direct, they also announced a brand new Professor Layton game for the 3DS, which I'm super pumped for because I love Professor Layton. But we haven't even gotten the last one that came to 3DS. That's coming out later this year, and this new one is supposed to be the last Professor Layton game in the second trilogy. And they're talking about how it's like the last story for Layton, so it's either like the last Layton game, which I doubt because it's a really popular series, or it's just the last one in the trilogy. So super pumped for that.
All right, and then the next piece of news is Black Mesa, which has I think been in development since shortly after Half-Life 2, so like I don't know how many, 7 years now I think.
Yeah.
And roughly 7 years, I believe.
People are making jokes about like, wow, this is coming out before Final Fantasy versus 13.
yeah. And so it's finally got a date, but it's not going to be the complete game, which is okay because the part that, for anybody who's played the original Half-Life, the part that's not coming out yet is the Zen world, which is like hands down the worst part of Half-Life. So, basically, what everybody's theorizing is that Black Mesa, they'll release this first part, and then if it does well, if people like it, then they'll release the second part. If it doesn't, then they'll just quit, and I think that's pretty much what's going to happen. But basically, it's set for September 14th, and it's like 70% or 80% of the game. So that's pretty cool. I'm kind of actually, I've been thinking about replaying the first Half-Life lately, so I'll probably check it out.
I might check it out as well. Yeah, if I can. Yeah, that looks cool. The voice acting is shit, like in the trailer there.
But the voice acting in the original Half-Life is shit too. So
I don't know if it was that bad.
It was 1998.
I know, but the one scene they showed off was really bad.
It was like I kid you not. It's not that. I think it's about as good or as bad as the original Half-Life. You got to remember, dude, that was 1998. That was like one of the first games to have voice acting.
I know. I've played some of the first Half-Life, not all of it, but I don't remember because it's been a while. So,
and then the next piece of news is Torchlight 2 finally has a release date. Finally, September 20th. Like they said they were going to make the summer. That's the last day of summer, so they are just fitting in there. I was harassing Runic on the Twitter, and they were talking back to me for a little while. But yeah, that was fun. Anyways.
All right. So I am really, really excited about this. Really excited. So Famitsu was talking about they had a big scoop for their new issue this week from Capcom. And they announced Ace Attorney 5 for the 3DS. Now, Ace Attorney 5 was already confirmed. We knew about it, but we did not know what system it was coming out for. I mean, people are obviously speculating 3DS, but you never know with Capcom. I mean, they could release it on even something like iOS or something nowadays. But that has been confirmed for 3DS.
Yeah.
But so the game's gonna be starring Phoenix Wright again. They're not gonna flesh out Apollo's story if you've played Apollo Justice, at least not yet. And this is going to be basically Phoenix Wright getting back into the lawyer defense business or whatever, because he was out of it in Apollo Justice if you played that game.
We have some more comments.
Is that so?
Yeah, we got, let's see. Okay, it's updating. Okay, so Phil admits he says his internet did go out like I suspected, and then he asked if he missed any snarky comments aimed at Naveed. You did miss me calling him a wimp, or what did I call you for being afraid of stealth games? What did I call you?
Yeah, wimp, pretty much.
Yeah, I called him a wimp, and then because Phil, if you were there, I know you would have said the same thing. So I was just speaking on your behalf.
Oh! Just in. Objection. Naveed sucks dick.
Oh, there we go. All right. Anyway, sorry. Back to your Ace Attorney 5 story. Just trying to keep up with these comments.
Yeah, we gotta keep it up for the fans. But so Phoenix Wright's gonna have a new female partner. It's not gonna be Maya in this game. We might see Maya in the game, but he has a new partner. And also with that news, there was like a full page ad on the back of the Famitsu magazine, and it was basically like a puzzle in Layton. And if you solved the puzzle right, it seemed like it gave the release date for Layton vs. Ace Attorney. And that game seems like it's going to come out sooner than I expected in Japan. It looks like Layton vs. Ace Attorney is going to come out on November 29th in Japan. So hopefully the US will get that sooner rather than later. And Ace Attorney 5 just today was confirmed by Capcom that it is coming over to the West. It was basically, we knew that, but they didn't bring out Miles Edgeworth Investigations 2, so like it wasn't a surefire thing that Ace Attorney 5 would come over here, but they did confirm that it would come over here. So the next piece of news is that Team Bondi is back, and Bondi, I don't know. Team Bondi is back, whatever. And okay, so the link I actually posted, it goes to their website, and their website changed out. On their website, they had their new game detailed, but now I don't know what I'll have to search for it again.
It doesn't really matter.
But yeah, so they're back basically. I thought they went like
they did go under, but I mean, I guess they found out a way to come back. Or maybe LA Noire, more money from that probably came in or something.
Maybe. Oh, okay, so their next game is targeted for next-gen consoles, and it's called Whore of the Orient. It's supposed to be
whore as in frightening, or whore as in street woman?
No, like whore, like WHORE.
Okay.
Whore of the Orient, and it's supposed to take.
Whore as in street woman.
It's supposed to take place in Shanghai, and it'll be set in like 1936. So we'll see probably more of that game closer to when next-gen consoles are revealed.
All right,
that's it for that.
This small piece of news: Insomniac's first game as essentially a third-party studio, multi-platform title, Overstrike, has been rebranded as Fuse. Don't ask me why. There was probably some copyright conflict or something like that.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, the game is looks like it's still the same. It does look like they maybe changed the art style to a more realistic art direction, which I'm not entirely pleased about, but whatever.
I don't know. I didn't
mediocre anyway, so
they haven't really done a whole lot lately. That's really great. But another game that has gotten a new change recently is Brothers in Arms Furious 4,
which was a terrible name.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about one way or the other, but they showed off a trailer. I don't remember when it was, but it basically looked like sort of a Left 4 Dead style Brothers in Arms game. And it makes sense now. They're actually turning it into a new IP without the Brothers in Arms name, and it'll be called something else. I don't know. That's another small piece of news that is changing up there. So.
All right, and then the next piece of news is that Lollipop Chainsaw. This is great news for Grasshopper, who typically their games don't sell well. The Lollipop Chainsaw, which actually I thought looked pretty neat, as sort of a typical Grasshopper outing does.
I watched some stuff on it. It looks all right. The gameplay doesn't look that hot. But
it looks about as good as No More Heroes to me, but
I don't know about that. There's not like. I haven't seen a whole lot, but as far as from what I'm seeing, it's probably the gameplay is not that great, but
Well, I mean, it wasn't
it's
that great.
definitely
No More
it's
Heroes
similar. It's similar. I don't know. It depends on what kind of like style you like more. But
Well, I think they're
anyway,
both pretty comedic, but
oh yeah, they are.
so basically, I think that it's the highest selling Grasshopper manufacturer title ever. It's 300K from the million mark. They've never had a title that did over 1 million units, so this is the closest they've come. They're 700K right now, shipped worldwide. But essentially, it's good news for Grasshopper, I guess. I mean, it's nice to see this do well, especially with all this sort of vitriol we have right now in the gaming market about the feminazis and what they.
Let's be honest, though. That had a
What?
part in some of the sales.
Oh God, yeah, sex. I mean, that's one of the reasons I
Oh
want.
yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
it was, but I mean, it's like, it's just funny to me because it's like it's like a big fu to the whole women versus tropes thing.
Yeah.
But anyways,
It's funny because it caused a lot of people who actually played it to write about it and write like against all that stuff. How like if you actually played the game, you'd see that it's actually quite different from just a game with sex appeal. Because the boyfriend is actually just like a dude's head.
yeah,
I don't know much about it, but if you go read some articles out there, you'll see like the guy is actually one of the more stereotypical characters in the game. So
yeah. So, anyways, good luck trying to reason with feminazis. But anyways, I wish the luck to anybody who attempts to do so. Then the next piece of news is that Phantasy Star Generations, which was a Sega Ages release on PS2, has been translated finally. So this is a remake of the first Phantasy Star game from Sega Master System, or Mark III if you're in Japan, and because we have a very large Japanese listening demographic. So it's been translated into English finally, and it looks pretty good. I'm probably gonna play through it. This is another game I've wanted to replay through because I never finished my second playthrough of the first Phantasy Star. It's a pretty damn good game. So yeah, that's radical. And then yeah.
all right, this was I think announced yesterday, but the PS Vita has apparently been hacked, and there's going to be homebrew on the way, and this is basically really bad for the Vita if it wasn't bad already.
Yeah, it's already been bleak.
Yeah, and it's like my reaction to this was like, isn't that what the proprietary memory cards were supposed to stop? Like, isn't that what those came out for? Other than being able to charge boatloads of money for freaking SD cards and shit like that that's worth nothing now.
Sex is the only reason I'm listening to this podcast. That's another comment.
Great comment. Brought to you by Chatastic. But yeah, so this will bring up a bunch of like piracy for the PS Vita and stuff. But
it's pretty much it's kind of like the death knell for me. It's like, I mean, it's already been the death knell for Vita.
Yeah.
But this is just another nail in the coffin just to ensure that it does not open. But anyways,
we've got an informed prediction by Chatastic. Hacked Vita equals more Vita sales. Maybe
for hardware.
and they might buy more memory cards. You need that memory card space to get those pirated games on there.
Yeah, you do need memory, but I mean, still, it's just you need people buying software.
Yeah, it's really not a good thing. But in good news, maybe a little bit of good news for the Vita. It's not going to last long, but in Japan last week, the Vita was the highest selling system if you count individual SKUs, and it sold over 50,000 units over in Japan because of Hatsune Miku,
which is the Sega franchise, which is based on the popular Vocaloid software.
Yeah, and it's a rhythm game, and it's really popular over there. It's funny because it's the one PS Vita game in the top 30 games selling in Japan, and it caused like a 40,000 unit spike in the hardware sales. So you see what software does to a system, and the problem is the Vita doesn't have a steady flow of software.
I think that really only happens in Japan, though, where like a large swath of people will buy a system for one game.
Yeah.
I mean, you never really see that in North America or Europe.
You see something like you see it happen for sure. Like when more popular games come out, the hardware sales go up as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it usually takes like a couple of titles in the West.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, if something like Monster Hunter came out there for Vita, it'd like freaking probably go up to 100,000 units there. But we don't see that coming in the future, and there's not a lot coming in the future, so it doesn't really have a steady flow of software. So that I predict that number is going to go right back down to where it was.
Oh, it's going to definitely
in the
go
coming
back
weeks. Yeah. So that's that.
Next piece of news is kind of controversial. Valve has added. They've started up Greenlight, and it was kind of people were just submitting crap, which was one of everybody's concerns. So now they require a $100 entrance fee. The entrance fee goes entirely to Child's Play charity, so they don't profit off of the entry fee at all. So that's nice, but people are saying this is too much money. Personally, I kind of think it'll keep the riffraff out. What's your verdict?
I don't know. Like, I mean, $100. It sounds like a lot. Like, I think maybe $50 would be a little more reasonable.
I think like $10 to $20 would be the sweet spot, probably. And then you would keep, because what was happening was people were like, just submitting like pranks and games that they didn't actually own.
Yeah, there's like 9/11 simulators and stuff on there.
There was like, and people were like submitting like games that other companies owned, but they just wanted to see on Steam.
And like I know recently, like the Steam, Valve took off a lot of like sexual content, like
there was
sexual
porn.
games.
The people were uploading like there was like a porn, like there wasn't even a game. It was just like somebody uploaded a bunch of porn pictures with a porn video, and then
so yeah,
it was just called tits.
Obviously, like there needed to be some more moderation or something like that. But a fee, $100 fee, I don't know. That seems like a bit much to me.
At least it all goes to charity, though. That's not, that's nice.
I mean, if Valve took it, that'd just be like fucking. That's awful. So,
yeah.
but
basically what game developers were saying is, a lot of them, particularly people who have just started out in indie development, they're finishing up their games. They've spent all of their money. Many of these people have spent their life savings, developing these games. They've put mortgages on their homes. And so when they finally come down to publish, they don't have any money to spare.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Spaz, Space Pirates and Zombies. Was the dude put a mortgage on his house to pay for the development. And when Steam, this was before Greenlight, but Steam rejected him, and then he got stuck with, Gamersgate and all these smaller retailers, and he didn't do that well, and finally he managed to get himself on Steam, and managed to recuperate his money. But I mean, $100 to somebody who's, been unemployed for a year, has put a second mortgage on their home, that's a lot of money. So maybe $10, $15 would be more reasonable, or maybe like a $100 deposit where you have to pay $100 to get in. And if your game is legitimately yours, you get that $100 back. But if you don't, then Valve gets to keep it, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like look at all these Kickstarters that's happening for like these small indie games. Like the cost of developing a game is not low. It's not cheap. Like you see these games,
and these are people. Yeah, I mean, these indie developers, they're not just like, 20-year-old kids living at their parents' house. They're often people, in their late 20s, early 30s, or late 30s, and they've got families and mortgages, and that costs money, and they're trying to develop a game often because they've been, lost jobs within the AAA industry.
Yeah.
And that they've got real bills, and it's kind of a misconception that, indie developers are making, big bucks. They're not rich most of them are not rich. They're making a living.
No,
occasionally you're getting a Marcus Pearson who did started Mojang and did Minecraft, but he's the minority. So there's a lot more. Like, I mean, like, okay, think of Bastion, for example. That game I think has sold like 1 million units by now, but it's like a 6-person development team, and they spent like over a year developing it. So it's like,
And there was
after
the one,
taxes, after Steam's cut, after Xbox Live Arcade's cut, there's less than a year's worth of salary. I mean, there's less than, it's probably a decent salary. It's probably like 70 to 80K for each person on the team or something like that. But it's like, it's still not, it's about what they would be making normally at a AAA studio.
Yep. But that's that. That's our little 2 cents about that. And a surprising piece of news for me.
Great news, though.
Yeah, Ubisoft is dropping always online DRM. So people fucking hated Ubisoft's DRM.
There was a massive PC boycott for like a past year or two.
And I mean, they were talking about more piracy, and it's been more since this DRM has been put into place and stuff like that. But they are going to drop their always online DRM. Apparently, it was scrapped months ago, from what RPS is saying. And
yeah, it was scrapped. Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, and from now on, they're going to require one online activation after installing, with no limits on how many PCs it can be activated on. And it seems like they're going in the right direction. And maybe for something like Uplay now, if it'll also be like that, maybe using that to get some of these like really good deals that they've been giving out for stuff like Assassin's Creed, which was free, like maybe a week ago or something like that, or Driver San Francisco, which was $1 or something. Maybe that's a viable option for people now who weren't buying it because of it. Yeah, it is, but I mean, it's now you don't have to look at Ubisoft as being some kind of...
Well, if they're going to stick to this, then I would prefer them over EA, but as the competing store against Valve. But the truth is that I don't want either of them. It's great that they're going to charge $1 for Driver, but like I'm not going to buy it through Uplay just because I don't like either of them as competitors to Valve, because they don't have the track record that Valve does.
Sure.
Valve has a track record of being good to their customers, caring about the gaming community and game development and how they treat their employees. Like Valve, in terms of like places to work within the games industry, Valve is hands down the best, pretty much. I mean, it's one of the best places to work just in general. I mean, they've got some of the highest pay. I mean, you never really hear about programmers in the gaming industry, making 6 figures. Notoriously,
snack bar inside their freaking headquarters.
Right.
Like you can just dispense that shit.
But like Valve, they pay their senior programmers in the 6-figure range. And that's pretty much unheard of, because game programming is notorious for being some of the hardest programming you can do, but also some of the lowest paying. So it's like, I don't know. I like Valve. They have my support as a company. Ubisoft, I can't say the same for, even though I don't hate them as much as EA. The only company that I would really get behind having a client would be like maybe Sega, and that's because Sega has a long PC history, or CD Projekt Red. And CD Projekt Red, they've got GOG, and they're kind of pro DRM free. They're not really, so I don't think they would ever come out with a client.
Yeah,
because that's what CD Projekt Red is all about. They're all about the DRM free.
Mm-hmm. But going back to the Greenlight thing real fast. Got a couple comments about it. Apparently, Valve's missing an opportunity here, because
I saw these, but I wasn't sure whether I should bring them up.
Oh, why not? Apparently, there's a big demand for those 9/11 simulators out there. A couple, at least a few people, would like to play a 9/11 simulator. So, Valve, bring that on. Don't need to take that off. It's been a while, right? Joke. It's not too soon. But yeah. Anyway.
So the next thing is just kind of, we have a couple of discussion pieces. One is sort of a classic discussion. We've added a classic discussion segment that we try to include in the podcast from here on out, just to
probably not going to be content. It
Yeah,
probably
it's not
won't
going to
be
be
there
there
every
every
week.
episode. It's not going to be there every episode, but we're going to try to include it when we have a good discussion topic. So this
Sure.
this piece of news, well, it's not news, it's just a discussion topic, but it isn't classic. This one isn't. Our predictions for the big three at the end of the next gen. And I'm going to let Naveed go off, and then I'll see where I agree.
I have a pretty boring prediction because
It's probably the
it's
same one
basically
I have.
yeah, it's basically what is happening right now, or no, actually, what's happening right now because the Wii is fucking dead right now. But and I think next year, Microsoft is they're still going to keep pushing towards the casual market. They're going to try to make this box a multimedia machine first before a games machine.
Right.
Have Windows 8's going to be part of it, or
At least the
Metro.
interfaces.
Yeah, the UI.
And it's kind of already that way on Xbox 360.
And Connect is going to be a big part of the new Xbox. Connect, their
Whenever we talk about Connect, all I can think about is that viral video where it's the family of four at like the convention, and then it's the Benny Hill music in the background. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe I probably do.
Oh,
I probably do.
yeah, that's
But
good. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, the Connect, it's probably gonna be. I think it's gonna be bundled in with every new Xbox 720, whatever Durango, and I think that will be the best-selling system next gen.
I would say within the U.S. and maybe Europe. I'm not sure. I think I think Microsoft will continue their dominance in the United States. I don't think they're going to be dominant in Europe or Japan.
Well, Japan they won't. That's just a fact. Like they're not going to be. They're not going to have a big chunk of the market there, and then even in Europe, like Sony's pretty big there. So, I'm basically going off U.S. Like I'll admit that's what I was thinking of, as far as U.S. sales go. But yeah, it has momentum right now. Microsoft has momentum with the Xbox brand. Like everyone knows the Xbox now because of Kinect and stuff. So I think that's going to be number one. I think Wii U is going to do fairly well. It's not going to be anywhere near Wii numbers, but I think it could be close to like maybe the 50 million, 60 million
lifetime
range.
sales.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree about 60 million.
That's around what like PS3 is at. I think PS3 maybe a little more than that. But
I think the PS4 could be set to overtake the Wii U next gen for second place.
I don't know about that. The reason I think Sony is going to be last next gen is because I think Sony they don't learn with their hardware. I think
they don't.
I think they're going to have a way too expensive piece of hardware again. It's not going to be as crazy as like $599.99, but I feel like it's going to be maybe $400 and then another maybe a $500 SKU.
I think what I think. Okay, so you and I pretty much agree. I think, but where we disagree is I think Sony's kind of the wild card, because I think that it's possible that they're going to do what you're saying, and I've thought about it, but I really do think I don't think it's so much of a matter of not learning. I think it's a matter of no longer having a choice.
Yeah.
Like I think they're going to have to go with cheaper hardware.
I mean, Sony's in a really bad position. Like they're losing lots of money.
They're entertainment of these guys.
Yeah, their entertainment division is doing fine. Like their PlayStation division is one of their best division right now. But they're doing really poorly in like their TV division and stuff like that. And they announced like these new 4K TVs, 4K resolution TVs, and they're trying to just push that. Oh no, they can't at the moment. They're going to be too expensive. People don't care right now. They see 1080p, they're like, that looks great. So they're still going up there. Not everyone even has a 1080p TV yet.
No,
like,
I mean
a lot of people have 720p.
Well, I mean, remember how long the transition from 480p took?
Yeah,
it took a long time. It took years.
Yeah,
and people people are still just now upgrading. So 1080p is going to be around for a while.
I think it really depends how much the Wii U is going to cost. If it's like $250 at launch, where I don't think it's going to be $250, I think it's going to be $300 and maybe a $350 SKU. If it's $250, I think that could sell really well right now if they market it right. If they don't market it right,
Here's what I think. Okay, so here I think that the Xbox 720, the Durango, is going to be. I think it's going to be actually only moderately more powerful than the Wii U. I think it's going to aim for a $300 price point. I think it's going to target the Apple TV more than anything else. And I think the Xbox 360 is going to be kept around as basically a direct competitor to the Apple TV. I think that Microsoft is eventually going to try to get it to the 100 to 150 price range to try and compete it, to put it directly against the Apple TV. As we've discussed before, Microsoft's not stupid. They know they cannot continue to lose mind share. They've lost so many new markets to Apple. This is one of the only new markets that they have the advantage in. The Xbox brand is far more powerful than Apple TV, and they're going to exercise that strength, and they're going to try to leverage it to keep Apple TV from gaining too much market share in the multimedia, entertainment, cable replacement type boxes of the future. And that's what because they're already doing it. It's not even a debate. They're already doing it with Xbox 360.
Yeah.
The main focus for like the past 2 or 3 years at E3 for Xbox has been multimedia, not games.
If you've noticed, there has not been a lot of exclusive titles coming out from Microsoft for the 360.
Unless you have a Kinect. Unless you have a Kinect.
Almost. Well, yeah. No, screw that. But like any sort of exclusive, it's been coming out on Xbox Live Arcade from indie devs, which are not even exclusive for forever. They're usually timed exclusive for 360 that come to PC later. But
so
that's where all their content.
Yeah. So I mean, so I really think that what they're going to try to do. Here's the deal. Every single generation has a PS1, a PS2, or a SNES or Sega Genesis or what have you, where it lives beyond the death of a generation. Every single generation has at least one. And this generation, I think that's going to be the Xbox 360. The PS4 is too expensive to produce. Excuse me, the PS3 is too expensive to produce. So when Sony comes out with the PS4, they are going to drop it before they usually would have. The Xbox 360 largely uses variants of off-the-shelf components. It's not a hard system to produce, and it's getting pretty old, so it's going to be reasonable for them to get it down to the $100 to $150 price range and directly compete with Apple TV. Xbox 720, I think it's going to be moderately powerful, but I really think they're going to aim for the $300 to $400 price range. And I think they're going to do. I really think they're going to try to aim for the $300 price range more than the $400. But they'll probably have multiple SKUs that allow them to do that. Then as for Wii U, obviously, I'm thinking $250. We already know about the power there. I'm thinking third place for Wii U if Sony plays their cards right. And I think Sony's going to aim for $400, and they're going to aim to be profitable at $400 because they cannot. Because with PS Vita, they're profitable.
At least with their heart. Well, yeah.
So I think that they're going to Sony. Like that's what I mean. Sony is with PS Vita. Yeah, it was a stupid idea, but it does demonstrate that they learned a little bit because when you look at the original PSP, they weren't profiting off of the original PSP for each unit sold.
They did have the same proprietary type memory sticks though. Like
they still weren't profiting, though.
Yeah, they were, but they were more expensive than SD cards back then. I remember
they were, but basically, I really think that what's going to happen, you're going to see Sony aim for the $400 or less price point and be profitable at that. And I think Sony's going to have the most powerful console next gen. Because Microsoft's targeting casuals, and they don't really care about graphics so much. And they're also, they have Xbox Live's gotten to the point where friends just buy games for Xbox 360 because they want to play with their friends.
Yep.
And then Wii U is going to be targeting, I think, Nintendo fans and casuals. I think it's honestly going to lose the casual market to Microsoft.
It's been going that way already.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to maintain it. I think that I think most of the casual market's already gone, so it doesn't really matter. And then Sony's going to target pretty much what they always target: the cutting edge, mainstream and core gamers. Yeah. But they're going to have to profit off of each unit sold, and I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to aim for 400. That's what I think.
I think it's going to be in that $400 to $500 price range
And
as well. Like I said,
I think
maybe
they
a couple
stand to
different
be
SKUs.
second. I think they stand to be second place over Wii U. But if
I
they
do
play the cards right,
what I do think is if Sony like really does really bad next gen, like maybe like I don't know, 30, 40 million units lifetime, they might. It's a possibility that they could get out of the console business.
I think that that's a
Like,
strong possibility. Because the
yeah,
PSP, I mean, look how many they've had. This has been disastrous for them. They had the PSP Go, then they had the PS3, which has it started out terribly. I mean, how much did the PS3 lose for them? It lost like $2 billion or
I
something like
I
that.
don't know, but I mean, right now it's steady. Right now it's selling, but obviously,
It's been profiting, but in terms of the overall lifespan, I don't think it's cut even. Has it? I think
I
that
don't
it's
know.
profiting off of each unit. But the reason you haven't seen a price drop on it in so long is because they're trying to cut even over the generation. Um, and
I'm not sure
then
about that myself. So
I don't know. I don't know if it cut even yet. And then it might have broken even. I think it's broken even. But then obviously PS Vita, which has just been an unmitigated disaster. So
yeah,
there you go. That's the moral of that story. You want to head into the classic discussion, the final piece
sure,
for tonight?
sure. Wait. New prediction from Chatastic. He believes Sega is going to release the 64X.
That's not going to happen.
Why not? That seems plausible to me. 32X is great, right? Just make a successor to this 32X. You got a gold mine, right?
As long as you price it at like $20. um, so this classic discussion is basically, it was on NeoGAF, and there was some interesting discussion. And the three favorite choices appeared to be Atari 2600 versus NES versus PS1.
I have a clear like when I first saw the thread, I knew my answer before I even read anything.
And I thought I did know mine, and then I changed it after reading some arguments.
Yeah.
So
what actually I read one really interesting argument in there, like a couple pages
and
in.
this is just to clarify, this is most important console. It's not best console. It's just like most important console to the history of the industry.
Yeah. And my like clear cut for me was NES. Like that's what I thought.
And I think you're wrong.
Going into the thread, and like
I thought PS1 going into the thread. I've since changed my opinion.
I just don't see how it could be anything other than NES when you look at it. I mean, video games were dead before the NES came out.
That's where you're wrong. And see, that's why I initially chose PS1, because video games were never dead. The console market was dead in the United States, and only the United States. It was not dead in Europe, it was not dead in Japan, and it was not dead in Canada. It was only dead in the United States.
It was not dead in Japan because they had like the Famicom. Europe, they had like all their home computers and stuff like that still, but they didn't. The home consoles weren't. I mean, they had what? What did they have over there? Like
they had the Atari 2600 and stuff like that.
Yeah, but was that still like going strong there when
the Atari 2600 the home consoles? I mean, I don't know how well it did. The Atari 2600 did in the UK and like the rest of Europe, but I know that it's also really tough because in the Soviet Union at the time, there were a lot of Atari 2600 clones. So you really throughout that entire era, like there was Genesis clones, there was NES clones, and we don't really have sales figures on the clones or anything like that. And I mean, from my understanding from the Russian people I know who gamed back then, they were pretty popular. So I mean, it kind of sucks that we don't have any data on the stuff that was happening in the Soviet Union at the time, because they were the same consoles, they were just like different names. They were just pirated consoles. So I went into the thread with PS1, and the reason my reason for PS1 was that the NES only saved the U.S. console market. PS1 changed gaming on a global scale, and I still maintain that. It made gaming more mainstream. It was the first console to break 100 million, and it really, it made gaming a lot more cinematic. It really pushed 3D graphics harder than any other console at the time, even though they were crappy 3D graphics. So that was what I went in with. Then I started to read all of the European guys who were arguing basically because the way that it ended up was pretty much if you were American, you said the NES was the most important, and if you were from any other place in the world, you were saying Atari 2600 or the PS1. And so I finally read an Atari 2600 argument that was pretty freaking good. And it swayed my opinion to the Atari 2600 because basically it boils down to the Atari 2600 was the first video game system to demonstrate video games as an actual industry. It sold 30 million units. It was hands down the Atari. At their peak, they rivaled the most profitable and largest film studios, and it's pretty. It's at that point, yeah. I mean, they caused the crash, but I mean, they're a company that everybody, even Nintendo, was looking at while they were designing the NES. And I mean, as you know, Naveed, Atari was originally going to handle the distribution of the NES in Europe and in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's definitely an argument, and I think I've got to say Atari 2600 is the most important, just because it was the first one to go mainstream. It was the first one to be popular. It was the first one to really turn video games into a major industry.
But just as you said, like what I'm thinking and what I still think is the way things were handled with the Atari 2600 is what caused the crash in the United States. There was no moderation on any of the games. Like anybody could release a game on the Atari 2600.
Well, to be fair, that wasn't entirely Atari's fault because they sued over that, remember, and then they lost, and that's what caused the flurry.
Yeah, but it still happened.
And that's why the Nintendo seal of quality and Sega seal of quality happened, was because they couldn't legally control what games were coming out on the console, so they used that seal of quality for.
Yeah, they had Nintendo. Well, Nintendo only allowed like 5 games per developer or publisher to come out in a year, and people got that in certain ways. Like Konami had their Ultra Games line, and they would release like 5 more games per year. So, like, I think that was something important to like get more of the more quality games out there, even though there's all.
Well, it was also illegal.
I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't.
Well, it was illegal. I mean, all of NES's, like all of Nintendo's third-party policies were pretty much illegal at the time because they had the exclusivity contracts. So like that was why on Sega had to like the stuff that was multi-platform in the 8-bit era, like R-Type, for example, Sega had to redevelop it themselves for Sega Master System because the developers could only license it to them. They could not develop for the Sega Master System.
But anyway, even like the NES, like in the U.S., I don't think the console industry would be the same as it is now if it wasn't for the NES coming out here.
I disagree because the other argument I read was that the NES, like basically, pretty much, like I mean, eventually the console market was going to revive regardless. I really don't think the NES.
But how? But how? Like it was. I don't know. We won't ever know how it would be. But I don't think. There would be someone, yeah, if there was no Nintendo.
I think the Master System honestly would have done it if Nintendo hadn't. I think I think the Master System would have been on a much more level playing field had Nintendo not used illegal business practices to control third parties. I mean, it was more powerful. It was about the same price.
Was Sega going to bring out the Master System in the U.S. though before the NES came out? Like we don't know that because it came out like a year after the NES. Well, we don't. That's why I think NES is so important because it really solidified the console market in the U.S. again.
Yet again, though, your argument is based on only the U.S. market, whereas the argument for the Atari 2600 and the PS1 is a global market. So I mean, if you're going to argue most important console, you can't just look at
Japan,
US.
Even in Japan, the Famicom was easily and still is one of the most popular consoles. It was huge in gaming back then. They stopped. I think they stopped manufacturing the Famicom over there in like 2003. Like they were still selling new Famicom systems over there, and it was still selling quite a bit in Japan up until like 2003, where they stopped manufacturing them. So it's a huge console in Japan, and it always was. So I think that has something to do with it as well. The Sega Master System I think it was more popular in Europe, right? compared to the
The
NES?
Sega Master System was more popular than the NES in Europe, the Soviet Union, and South America.
Yeah.
NES was more popular in Japan and North America.
Mm-hmm. But
Um,
I could definitely see an argument for the Atari 2600. Like you said, it was one of the first.
well, I mean, here's the thing though, like you yet again earlier in your argument, you said that the Sega, the NES kind of created because like you were saying that in Europe they didn't really play on consoles, but they didn't really play on consoles until they didn't really play on consoles until the Sega Master System either. Though, like the NES was there, but the Sega Master System, I mean, like that. So I mean, that's not yet again, the NES and I'm not the contributions that the NES made were almost wholly United States centric. Like the big change that the NES contributed only occurred in the United States, whereas the Atari 2600 and the PS1, yet again, changed gaming on a global scale. Like they're just the NES. The whole argument with the NES is only based on one country's market, and there's 3 significant markets in gaming, as you know. There's, well, at least in console gaming, there's Japan, there's Europe, and then there's North America. So when you only have that argument in 1/3 of the 3 major markets, it loses a lot of weight.
But North America is arguably is the biggest market for video games nowadays.
Actually,
not like
the largest. Europe's the largest now.
Really?
In terms of revenue, Europe is the largest because of how strong the euro is, and it's been that way for quite a few years because of how strong the euro is. The euro, the European market is the most valuable market, hands down now.
I did not know that myself, but
it's been that way since like 2006 or 7.
Well, I still think as far like I said before, the Famicom, it wasn't just the U.S. It was a huge deal in Japan as well. Maybe not as much in Europe, but I still feel the NES was more important. But what I was going to bring this up before. Has nothing to do with it either. But I thought what this guy brought up was interesting. He said TurboGrafx 16 because it had the first CD-based system 5 years before the PS1. And you could play CDs. I mean, or you couldn't play CDs, but like it says the ability to use your console for something other than playing CDs. And it was the first backwards compatible system with the Turbo Duo, even though that's like a handheld. But he also said it's the first console to use localized storage units. And it's the first console that allowed you to play imported games without any sort of adapter. He said he was not sure about that, but I think I looked it up and it seemed like it was correct. So that's actually pretty interesting. And the TurboGrafx 16 actually had a lot of innovative features for the time.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think it's the most important because it's not
a change in storage format isn't really doesn't make the most important. When you're talking about most important, you're talking about like what it did for the gaming industry overall. And I mean, games are still coming out on cartridges, which show that they're still a perfectly valid means of read-only memory.
Yeah, but I thought I brought that up because I thought it was interesting.
I'm not saying it's not innovative. I mean.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I honestly did not know about that stuff, so I thought it was interesting.
You didn't know that the TurboGrafx 16 had the first CD?
No, I thought.
Let's read a Naveed insult. There's got to be one out here.
I wasn't. I honestly.
Expert. That's the only one. That's the only recent one.
I honestly didn't know how early on the TurboGrafx 16 came out. That came out like, what was it?
Well, it was technically an 8-bit system.
It had better. It was better than an 8-bit system.
It was technically an 8-bit system. Look it up, man. I'm telling you. It had a bit a larger color palette and stuff, but it was. It
has a 16-bit GPU.
Yeah, but it has an 8-bit CPU.
Yeah, but it came out in 1989. Like that's, I didn't know that. I thought that was.
Genesis was 88.
In Japan, it was 87 for TurboGrafx, but the Genesis came out what 89
in the US.
Oh,
89
really?
in the US. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Whatever.
Anyways, all I'm saying is Yeah, I don't know, but
It's arguable. I think it's not. I think it's not a
I
definitive
think
thing. What
I
you
see.
can
I got to
say.
disagree. I think at this point it's pretty definitive that it's the Atari 2600. I mean, it's so hard to argue that it basically created the video game industry. It was the first majorly successful video game console. It showed that video game consoles were even possible as a large scale market. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, it also, I mean, like even what we're talking about, like the seal of quality stuff, that was influenced by Atari. What happened to Atari? I mean, like it was like almost every single thing that Sega and Nintendo did at the beginning of the console, their console existence as console makers in the United States market, was based on attempting to avoid what happened to Atari. So I mean, it was kind of like that thing that I just linked you earlier.
But
Where
that's not a good thing when something is influenced by a bad thing that happened to another console.
it is when it's
Right?
helping you to avoid a similar, market position that was negative.
Yeah, but that doesn't bode well for the
Well, I mean, what defines the most important console? Really, we're talking about Do we agree that influentiality is a component in this argument?
influence. Yeah, it has a
So influence. What else are we agreeing upon? Is
um
as a component here?
I I don't know. The
I can't really think of anything else. So I mean, I think it's so hard to argue that it isn't the Atari 2600.
I think it's you could argue. I think even PS1 has a good argument about it. Like your argument for PS1, that's I still think that could be argued that way too. So like I still don't think it's definitive at all
I
as
think the
far as what you
PS1.
want to say.
I thought the PS1 was a good answer, but I don't anymore. Like it's just it's my opinion has been swayed because really the PS1 didn't do anything special. If the PS1 never came out, here's the reality: its position would have been filled by the Saturn. That's really what would have happened because the Saturn was the CD-ROM
Well,
console.
but it wasn't the big leap to 3D that it wouldn't have been if the PS1 wasn't planned to come out
Well,
because
Saturn actually had 3D capabilities, just not as
yeah,
extensive as the
it was
PS1.
it was going to be a primarily 2D based system though. But
Yeah,
maybe it would have been different. Like N64 was coming out, and they would have seen that, and they would
yeah. I
try to
mean,
do more.
I thought because I mean,
There's so much different things that could have happened with
but
all these.
the one thing that is definitely true though is Saturn was always intended to run stuff like Virtua Fighter and Daytona, so it would have at least had those 3D capabilities. It wouldn't have had
Sure.
much beyond that, but it would have still had decent 3D capabilities for the time. Um,
But I don't think it would have brought like a huge mass market appeal like the PS1 did.
I kind of think it would have because I mean, when you really think about
I
what
think
what sold
I
what
think
sold the PS1, what sold the PS1
Final
was
Fantasy and
Final Fantasy probably would have stayed on Nintendo consoles, but stuff
yeah,
like Metal Gear
so
Solid, not Metal Gear Solid started life on Saturn before switching to PS1. So I mean, it was already a Saturn game when Konami, because I mean, when Sony was kind of the dark horse, a lot of games were starting out on Saturn. Most of them got canceled once PS1 became so popular, and then they moved them to PS1. I mean, like the only major game that stayed, on Saturn was Tomb Raider, and then they eventually ported it over. But I mean, no, the stuff like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil
Resident Evil.
started on Saturn. So I mean, those types of games that really pushed the PS1, those would have been on Saturn, and they were initially Saturn titles. They were going to be Saturn exclusives before PS1 started to beat the shit out of it worldwide. But
But yeah, this is all we can't say what would have happened. It's all speculation based on
well, we can say that
different
the Saturn would have been weaker in terms of 3D, but at least on a tech spec sheet. But it wouldn't. I think arguably it would have come out about the same because so few people actually knew how to actually program on the Saturn when they made it all Frankenstein-y to compete with PS1. That I think you would have relatively similar quality 3D graphics to the end product because the original machine, most people didn't even use the second processor on the Saturn because they couldn't figure out how to effectively harness it.
Mm-hmm.
So the most 3D games are only using one processor on Saturn, which was the original hardware design.
Sure.
But I think it's pretty definitively the Atari 2600. Any comments?
Comments.
No other system. Oh, PS1 can't draw straight lines. No other system can bring that to the table. Is Naveed ever not wrong? Naveed is stupid. The comments side with me. Yay.
Wait, is Naveed ever not wrong?
Yeah, you'll. I'm sorry.
Why is that a bad comment towards me?
Because it's saying you're wrong all the time.
No, it's saying, am I ever not wrong?
Yeah, it's saying you're wrong all the time, man. You're freaking wrong.
It means that
Phil,
if I'm not wrong, that means I'm not wrong.
No, is Naveed ever not wrong? That means freaking Phil, get your ass.
Oh, Welch's grape juice. You know, that's a good name for Phil. I think I'm gonna call him Welch's grape juice from now on.
I call him philosophy. Phil, quit your damn TF2 and get in here and clarify the statement. I know you're listening.
I don't want him to clarify. You know, I think I'm gonna.
Because you're losing.
No, well, you don't know what he means.
I know what he means.
There's no right or wrong answer to this. I don't think.
Oh,
this is not...
Okay. Chastic, please, get in here. Somebody. Oh, I know you people are freaking listening. Get in here.
They can't. Nope. Looks like we're done here.
He's a loser. Ha! Ha ha! Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Atari 2600 wins.
NES.
By judges.
NES.
You lose.
NES.
Judges they're on my side.
Oh, the Russian judge just gave you a 0.
What? Who just gave me a 0?
The Russian judge.
He's doing. Oh, yep. Phil just said he was making fun of you. So there. Boom. Boom. Okay, that's it. Episode 9, folks.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed these discussions. Don't forget live stuff. We'll do all this.
Yeah, we're doing it from now on. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I thought it was fun too.
All right.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Check out all our other podcasts and check out our next one. Goodbye.
Bye.